Hi guys, so in today's tutorial we're going to make this super cute little koala plushie. It is really simple and works up quite quickly. You will need some basic crochet knowledge, but otherwise it is really good for beginners. It is very adaptable as well. If you don't want to put this little t-shirt on it, you can just do it all in plain grey. Feel free to leave a comment on how you found the tutorial and future tutorials you'd like to see. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel to not miss out on my weekly crochet tutorials. So let's get started. For this tutorial you're going to need a pair of scissors, a 4mm crochet hook, stitch marker, a yarn needle, 9mm safety eyes, chenille chunky yarn, some pins and some toy stuffing. So we're going to start with the head, and the head starts with 6 single crochets in a magic ring. And I'm starting with my koala colour, so I've got a grey in the James C. Brett Flutterby yarn. Okay, so 6 single crochets in a magic ring. How I do my magic ring, and it's all down to personal preference, so if you don't like this technique then please just feel free to find another magic ring tutorial. But I wrap the yarn twice around my 2 fingers. I'm going to grab my hook and go under these first 2 loops, and I'm going to grab this last loop and pull through, and then I'm going to grab it again and pull through. So this is our starting chain. It's not actually gonna count as a chain within the magic ring. So we're gonna redo that, go under the 2 loops, pull it up. We've got 2 loops on a hook now, and we're gonna single crochet as normal. And that is our first single crochet in this magic ring. So we're gonna do that again, pull through and single crochet as normal. So we've got 2 single crochets within this magic ring. So we're gonna carry on until we have a total of 6. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, and one more. Again, like I say, that technique's not for everyone. You can do the chain 2 technique, but I just find it a lot easier because it keeps it secure on my fingers while I'm chaining. So I'm going to pull the yarn out from the ring, and then I'm going to pull it close, and we then have our 6 single crochets in a nicely closed ring. So we're going to grab our stitch marker and place it in the stitch closest to the hook, and this is just to mark where we're going to start and finish each round so we can keep track. In round 2 we're going to do 6 increases. So this basically means in each of these 6 stitches we're going to do an increase, which is basically 2 single crochets. So we're going to go into our first stitch and do 1 single crochet, and then we're going to go back into the same stitch and do another single crochet. And we're going to do that in each stitch, 2 single crochets to get our 6 increases, and that will take our total stitches up to 12. Round 3 we're going to do a single crochet and an increase 6 times, and that's going to take our total up to 18, so like we did before, but the first stitch is just going to be 1 single crochet. We're then going to do our increase in the next stitch, so 2 single crochets in the next stitch, and then we're going to repeat that all the way around, so 1 single crochet and then 2 single crochet until we get all the way back to the stitch marker. Ending on an increase. Round 4 we're going to do a 2 single crochets and an increase, and that's going to take our total up to 24. So each round we should be finishing on an increase. Round round 5, we're going to do 3 single crochets and an increase. So basically each round we're going to add in an extra single crochet, and that's just going to give us this really even round 6, we're going to do 4 single crochets and an increase. Round 7 is going to be our last round of increases, so it's just going to be 5 single crochets and an increase all the way around, and we should end up with a total of 42 stitches. For rounds 8 to 13, we're going to just do 42 single crochets in each round. So we're just going to do a single crochet into each stitch for the next 5 rounds. So I'll meet you back at the end of round 13. So I've now finished my 6 rounds of 42 single crochets, and I'm going to carry on with round 14, which is going to start our decreasing. So round 14, we're going to do 5 single crochets and then a decrease. And we're going to do an invisible decrease. So let's do our 5 single crochets, 4 and 5. And for an invisible decrease, where we've been working through the 2 loops, we're just going to work through the front loop. So I'm going to go in through this front loop and pull up as normal. While we've got the 2 loops on our hook, we can go into the next front loop again, pull up, and then we're going to pull through these 3 loops, and that is our invisible decrease. So let's do that again, 5 single crochets, 4 and 5, and then an invisible decrease. So front loop, pull up, front loop again, pull up, and then pull through all 3. And we're just going to carry that on until we get back to the stitch marker. Round 15, we're going to do 4 single crochets and a decrease, and that's going to take our total down to 30. So like we did before, we're just going to do our 4 single crochets and then our invisible decrease. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And we're going to keep repeating that the whole way around. So we should end up with this nice circular head. So we're now going to place our safety eyes. So safety eyes are going to go between rounds 10 and 11, approximately 7 to 8 stitches apart. So if we count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 and 11, so it's going to go this round. I'm using 12mm, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I'm using 12mm safety eyes, so they're quite big, but obviously feel free to use smaller if you're using smaller yarn, or even bigger if you're using bigger yarn. Once we're happy with the placement, we're going to place the safety backs on and we're going to stuff the head so far. Round 16, we're going to do 3 single crochets and a decrease, and that will make our total 24. We're going to keep doing our invisible decreases the whole way. Round 17, we're going to do 2 single crochets and a decrease, and that's going to take our total down to 18. And the last round of the head, round 18, we're just going to do a single crochet and a decrease to bring our total down to 12. So there we have our head, and we're going to stuff it one more time to make it extra firm. And then we're going to move straight on to the body. So moving on to the body, for the first round we're going to keep with our grey, and we're going to do 12 single crochets for a little neck. So before we finish our last single crochet, we're going to change to blue. So what we're going to do now is basically give our little koala a t-shirt. Feel free, if you don't want to do a t-shirt, just continue doing the next few rounds in the grey if you just want to keep it bare. But if you want to give him a little outfit, then this is what we need to do. So I'm going to do him in blue and white striped top. So I'm going to grab my blue yarn. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab it and thread it through the single crochet. And then I'm going to do the next round using this blue. So round 2 or round 20, we're going to do a single crochet and an increase like we did before, and that's going to take our total up to 18. So what I do when I've got these ends, we can cut our grey because we're not going to use it anymore. But I single crochet around them, and that's basically going to keep them in place and save me having to weave them in at the end. So it just secures them as we go. So we're going to do, I've done a single crochet and then I'm going to do an increase. So go back into this stitch and I'm going to keep doing that around. And once they're secure, you can just get them out of the way and just continue as normal. I just like to do that because then it keeps it secure, and you're already single crocheting, so you may as well just weave them in. Saves the job. Ending in an increase. Again, before we finish off our last single crochet, we're going to change colours to a white. So keeping the two loops on your hook, we're going to grab our white yarn and do the same, pulling it up and pull through the 2 loops. And then we're going to carry on to round 21. So we're just going to do 18 single crochets in the white. And then we're going to change again, picking up our blue yarn. So I didn't weave it in, I just left it in place so that it's there for when we need it. Round 22, we're just going to do 2 single crochets and an increase to take our total up to 24. Again, leave the white in place so that we've got it for the next round and the next stripe. 2 single crochets and an increase. Sorry, just struggling with this yarn. It's getting itself in such a tangle. I'm trying to untangle it as I go. But it's got a mind of its own. Finishing on an increase, and we're going to change colours in the last single crochet. Round 23, we're going to do 24 single crochets. Changing colour again. 24, we're going to do 11 single crochets and an increase, and we're only going to do that 2 times to get our total up to 26. So 11. And an increase, and another 11.
Finishing off with an increase, and then changing our yarn. Round 25, in the white yarn we're going to do 26 single crochets.
Round 26, we're going to do 26 single crochets in the blue yarn. Round 27, we're going to do 26 single crochets in the white yarn. And then round 28, we're going to do one last round of the stripes in the blue. Again, just 26 stitches. And I'm going to be playing a bit of yarn chicking because I've literally only got this left. So let's see if we can get all the way round without having to get a new ball. Nope, I'm not going to be successful. I need to change yarns. Okay, so I've just grabbed a new yarn ball and I'm going to carry on If any of you do find that you run out of yarn, I literally just start my new one like I do with the colour changes, and I just slip it through the single crochet like we've been doing. That is super annoying. I thought I had a little bit of scrap blue left over, and I thought, oh, that'd be the perfect size. Just a bit too short. Again, I'm just single crocheting the tails in as I go, just to weave them in. And that is the end of our little t-shirt that we're doing. So we're going to change back to our grey, our koala colour. So I'm going to grab my grey and change it over like we've been doing. And then round 29 in our grey, we're going to do 26 single crochets, but we're going to do these in the back loops of round 28. So rather than going through both loops like we've been doing, we're just going to go into the back loop. So it's quite hard to see with this dark blue, but if I can get the lighting okay. So rather than going through both of them like so, we're just going to go through this back one. Can we see that there? That's a bit better lighting. We're just going to go through that back one. And again, through this back one. So we should just be going through one loop rather than two loops. It's quite hard to see in this blue, but hopefully I'm getting the kind of effect of just going through the back loops. So we're going to do that the whole way around. So that is the end of our body part, and you should have something looking a little bit funny like this, and we're going to stuff it. So when we're stuffing, we're going to make sure we're putting a lot in this neck bit to prevent it from being wobbly when we finish off. So we're just going to keep shoving quite a lot in to secure the neck. So we're now going to be working on the legs, and how we're going to do this is we're going to basically split the body into two. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have my safety eyes facing towards me, and I'm just going to flatten this bottom part. And then I'm going to put a stitch marker in where I think the middle is. And then what we can do, oh, damn it. And then what we can do is we can count each side to make sure there's the same number of stitches, and we can adjust if not. So this side has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. And this side has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So what we can do is just adjust it one more. And once both sides have a similar count, so I feel like that is pretty even. And we're going to work our legs straight from the body. Keep our stitch marker in place. We're going to crochet around this first leg each time until we get to our stitch marker. So we should have roughly 13 13 stitches. So let's put a stitch marker where we're starting, so we know that we're going to end up here. And in each round we're going to do a single crochet. And when we get to this middle stitch marker, what we're going to do is we're going to go into these stitches. Let's get this stitch marker out of the way now. And we're going to single crochet the two sides together. And then we're going to continue working around until we get back to this yellow stitch marker. So I've got 13 single crochets in total here. I'm going to keep doing that for the next 3 rounds. So I'm going to have 5 rounds in total of 13 single crochets. Once you've done a total of 5 rounds on your first leg, we're going to stuff it, making sure to go quite deep into the body so it joins smoothly. And then we're going to repeat the same on the other side. The last round of the leg, we're just going to do 6 decreases, and then we're going to close off. We're going to grab our yarn needle, and then to close up, we're just going to go into each of these loops like so. And the last 2, and then we're going to pull to close it. Then just do a couple of stitches across just to make extra sure it's secure and it's not going to come loose. And then we can tie off and weave in the ends. So we're going to do the same for the next leg. We're going to join our yarn onto any one of the stitches on the side, like we've done before. Pull it up, and we'll add a stitch marker in here so we know that this is where we began. And then we're going to single crochet around the leg, again keeping that tail in between and single crocheting over it just to keep it in place. Again, we're going to do 5 rounds of 13 single crochets, and I'll meet you back at the end of round 5. Once we've done our 5 rounds, we're going to stuff it again, and then we're going to do our 6 decreases to close off. So that is the body complete. We're now going to move on to the ears. Using our grey yarn, we're going to start with 6 single crochets in a magic ring. Round 2, we're going to do our 6 increases. So 2 single crochets into each stitch to get our total up to 12. Round 3, we're going to do a single crochet and an increase to take our total up to 18. Round 3, we're going to do a single crochet and an increase 6 times to take our total up to 18. Round 4, we're going to do 2 single crochets and an increase, again 6 times to take our total up to 24. Rounds 5 and 6, we're just going to do 24 single crochets. So for the next 2 rounds, we're just going to do a single crochet into each stitch. So that is our first ear finished. We're then going to repeat this again to get 2 in total. Remember to leave a long tail for sewing onto the body. So now we have our 2 ears. We're going to grab some black yarn and move on to making the nose. So I've grabbed my black yarn. So for the nose, we're going to start by chaining 5. So we need to make a slip knot. And then we're going to chain 5. We're then going to work around this foundation chain. We're going to begin from the second chain from the hook. So not this one, the one below. And then round 1, we're going to do 3 single crochets in the chain. In the last chain, we're going to do 3 single crochets. So in this last chain, we're going to go into it 3 times. We're going to turn our work and we're going to do 3 single crochets up the chain again. And here we'll place our stitch marker. so that we know at the end of round 2 we're stopping there. In round 2 we're going to start with an increase, then we're going to do 2 single crochets, another increase, a single crochet, an increase, and then 2 single crochets and an increase to finish. So round 2 we should be finishing on an increase. Again, place our stitch marker and we're going to do 1 more round. And the last round, round 3, is just going to be 12 single crochets all the way around. Then we're going to slip stitch and then cut the yarn. Leave a long tail for sewing onto the head. We're now going to move on to making the arms. So for the arms we're going to start in our grey yarn and we're going to do 5 single crochets in a magic ring. Round 2 we're going to do 5 increases to get our total up to 10, so 2 single crochets into each stitch. Round 3 and 4 we're just going to do 10 single crochets, so a single crochet in each stitch for the next 2 rounds. And before we finish our last single crochet, what we're going to do is the same as the body with the stripes. So we're going to grab our navy and white yarn to do the stripes of the t-shirt. And we're going to finish off this last single crochet of round 4 by pulling through, and then with the 2 loops on our hook we're going to grab our blue yarn and pull through to change colours. So round 5, using our blue yarn, we're going to do 10 single crochets but in the back loops only. So where we've been doing it through the 2 loops, we're going to go through the back loops. And like I did before, to weave in my ends as we go, we're going to place the tails in the middle, so we're going to single crochet over them into the back loop and then single crochet. You only need to do this 2 or 3 times and they should be secure enough to then get them out of the way and carry on as normal. Again, before we finish this last single crochet, we're going to keep these 2 loops on our hook. We can get rid of the grey yarn now. And we're going to grab our white for the next stripe colour. And we're going to pull through the 2 loops we've got on our hook to change the colour. So round 6, we're going to do a single crochet and a decrease 3 times through both loops, and that's going to take our total down to 7. I'm just doing a normal decrease. I'm not bothering with an invisible, but feel free to do an invisible if that's what you'd like to do. So we can stuff the tails into the bottom, and we can also start to fill the bottom with some toy stuffing. Round 7, we're going to change to blue, and we're just going to do 7 single crochets around. Again, at the end of each round, we're going to stop halfway through our single crochet with 2 loops on our hook and change colours. Round 8, again, we're going to do 7 single crochets. Round 9, 7 single crochets. Round 10, 7 single crochets in white yarn. And then one last colour change to blue. And the last round, round 11, is again going to be 7 single crochets. So we're now going to stuff the arm. And what we can do is use the end of our hook just to push it down into that small area. Once you've got your arm as stuffed as you like it, we're going to flatten the edge, and we're just going to do 3 single crochets through both sides to close it off. And then we're going to leave a long tail for sewing onto the body. And we're going to repeat that again to get our second arm. Now we've got our 2 hands, we're now going to move on to the assembly. So I'm going to start first by sewing on the arms, and they're just going to go right on this top. And they're just going to go right under the neck, like so. So I'm going to grab my yarn needle. Obviously feel free to pin in place if you want them to be more secure, but I'm just going to freestyle it. I'm going to also put the side with the colour changes on the inside so that you can't see it. And we're just going to literally sew it onto our body. We're going to stuff the nose ever so slightly before we sew it onto the face. And it's going to go right in the middle of our eyes like so. For the ears, we're going to make them slightly curved, and we're going to place them between rounds 4 and 13 of the head. So these are definitely going to need to be pinned in place, and they're going to be curved like so. So let's get sewing. I'm now just going to add a few face details. Now this is completely optional, but I do feel like it proper brings the plushies to life. But again, if you just can't be bothered, then no problem, your plushie is now finished. But I'm just going to add a few little eyebrows and maybe some eye details just to finish him off. So there we have our finished koala plushie. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Comment down below how you got on, or if you have any questions about anything, and please make sure you tag me in any post you do, as I would love to see your makes, or even just reach out or direct message me on Instagram. Leave a like on the video if you enjoyed this tutorial, and don't forget to subscribe to not miss out on my weekly free crochet tutorials. See you later.